It's a really slow combo, and it requires infinite mana. I tend to lose track after about 20, though. Yeah, after about 20, my brain just goes, you have an infinite. And then I spend like 15 of it, and then I realize, oh shoot, what happened to all my mana? I had an infinite amount of mana.
It's Commander time!
Like this $5 footlong.
Welcome to Commander Time. We are yet another podcast about the Magic the Gathering format known as Commander. And I just want to clarify something here. This podcast is about the multiplayer, mostly casual version of Commander. We're not really talking about what is being called competitive, EDH, the 1v1 kind of stuff. But we are usually on the competitive end of the casual game. And some call this high-powered casual. There may be some confusion about that, but probably not, because once a competitive EDH player hears that we mention a card with a mana cost higher than 5, then they know we're not talking about them. I'm Nate Burgess.
I'm Dean Goody.
And I'm Patrick Sapola.
Shout out to our patron of the week, Ryan Martinez. And today we're going to talk about some EDH Rec articles we wrote in the month of June. Then we might talk about some games we played, we'll tell you what our pets have been doing, and then maybe you'll hear a goofy song. Or maybe you'll hear the goofy song first. Who knows what the editor's going to do? Who knows? But first, speaking about the different kinds of Commander formats, Bruce Richard had a good article on TCGplayer.com about splitting the format and giving them different names. We'll have a link to that somewhere.
I kind of agree with them. It's like saying that, the only real difference between Modern and Legacy is, the card set, which is kind of the same with Commander versus Commander 1v1. But, we're still playing Magic, but by having a specific name for everything, you kind of get a specific feel for what the format is. It's better the description, the better the outcome, usually.
Yeah, we do have two kind of completely different things that are being called Commander right now. And, might be some confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And the multiplayer aspect really changes a lot of things.
Yeah. A number of my decks would not be nearly as powerful without the multiplayer aspect to it. Just because having that extra time to set up and being able to deflect an additional, 40 life per person is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are a lot of cards that say each opponent, and they don't do so well in one-on-one.
Sure, so I think 1v1 Commander is pretty much just sort of Legacy. It lacks the multiplayer aspect, which fundamentally changes the context of the game.
I mean, it does make me a little sad that things like Thoughtseize or Lightning Bolt become a lot worse in multiplayer, but the fact of the matter is there's more to be gained from multiplayer, I think, in the format.
Yeah, you get the addition of politics, which doesn't really exist in a 1v1 match. You can't really politic a single opponent.
I don't think you should attack me, but I can't. There's only one person here.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, though.
If you do it, I'm gonna tell Mom.
No, but I won't attack you next turn if you don't attack me this turn.
Sounds like a deal.
That being said, I do lament the fact that targeted discard like Thoughtseize or Inquisition of Kozilek or Burn are just not that great in our format, because it is an interesting thing to at least include in the game, but short of having like a blood rivalry with somebody, you're not going to be casting Thoughtseize turn 1 very often.
Yeah.
Here, discard this card, and then in 4 turns, it might come up important. Wait, I got an idea. What if we just double the life totals of Commander, but also make everything double damage?
Hey, that's some extra math there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And in multiplayer, Commander, sometimes your opponents can be your friends for a little while.
Yeah, until you can't help yourself.
If some other opponent is being the big meanie at the table, then you can make alliances for a little while. So speaking of articles, I know that Marrow had an interesting one this past month where he basically mapped out the entire color pie and every ability and put a color on it.
Yeah, I really like how he did it with primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So it really kind of spelled out where they're looking to put abilities, and kind of it also helped explain why they're looking for evasion in Dimir colors or something like that, because there just isn't a keyword that fits there right now.
They got Intimidate.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to get away from Intimidate, aren't they?
Oh.
Yeah. And that doesn't really fit all of the color pie as well as they want it to. The point being, there isn't really an evasion keyword that fits for primary blue and black. There isn't really a black bleed through. I believe I was reading that Skulk was originally, like, they thought that it could fit into the Dimir colors pie as an evergreen, but once it came out, like, everybody had access to it, they realized how bad it was. I mean, I just wanted to put it on Master of Cruelties. Mm-hmm.
With a Blade of Selves.
Ooh. Okay. That's going on the list.
Yeah, Marrow's map of the color pie is fantastic. I love the mechanical color pie, so seeing Marrow's article come out and map the whole thing out, and he's come out and said that he's going to do it, he's going to update it every year. That has me really excited. I really enjoyed reading that article.
Well, little does our listenership know, but Dean likes to design his own cards.
I do. I make custom Magic cards. You can find them on the Custom Magic subreddit. Most of them are terrible, but hey, that's how you get good at designing stuff, right?
Right?
Seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work.
Yeah. I've been reading Dana Roach's articles. He writes in the margins at EDH Rec, and also is one of the co-hosts of the Commander Masterclass podcast, which I very much enjoy. His articles are sort of the inverse of mine. He takes a card that's overplayed and tells you what you should be playing instead of it. So this most recent article, it misses June by a day, but we'll let it slide. He talks about Manalith, which is a mana rock. It costs 3, and it taps for 1 mana of any color. So he goes on to list a number of cards that are just strictly better, such as Astral Cornucopia, Chromatic Lantern, Coalition Relic, even Darksteel Ingot, which is just the indestructible version of the card.
Yeah, I run Darksteel Ingot in a number of decks, if only because I face against a Child of Alara deck almost every week.
Yeah, that's a good reason to run it. I really like Commander Sphere. I think that's one of the best mana rocks to come out of the pre-con decks in a long time.
Yeah, I think I like Chromatic Lantern the best, and then Darksteel Ingot.
Yeah, you can't really get much better than Chromatic Lantern, can you?
All my lands do stuff.
Yeah, and it taps for mana on top of that.
Yeah. The only downside is that on Magic Online, it makes tapping your lands much more difficult.
Yeah, I use a lot of 3-drop mana rocks. Well, I don't use a lot of them, but every deck I have tends to have one of them.
Yep, and almost all of them are better than Manalith.
Let's see. So one of the other articles that I read recently was Rick Amundsen's EDH Political Science. He built a Saskia, he calls it Saskia and the Olive Branch. He built a Saskia deck that is basically an Enchantress deck. He suits Saskia up with a number of... He's got a nice medley here. He's got some auras to make Saskia bigger. He's got some bestow creatures, which presumably also go on Saskia. And then he's got stuff like Doomwake Giant and Eidolon of Blossoms with the Constellation trigger. Yeah, did you guys read through this? Did you guys like this? It's a cool concept.
So is it mainly Selesnya Enchantress?
It is Selesnya Enchantress, but he's also running like Phyrexian Arena, obviously.
Any of the Mogus Punishment style enchantments?
Surprisingly, not really.
So he went more Voltron-ish?
It is a little bit more Voltronish. He's actually also running a token sub-theme. He's got Anointed Procession and Parallel Lives in here, along with Luminarch Ascension and Sigil of the Empty Throne. So it's got the capability of going tall or wide. He's got Xenagos in there.
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
So, speaking of articles, were we still talking about articles? It doesn't matter. Speaking of articles, the main topic.
We got Dean's.
All right.
Yeah. So this month I wrote a couple of articles. We're going to talk about my Dig Through Time article of Future Sight. So instead of just rehashing the article, we're going to play a game called Would You Play That Card? What would you play it in?
I imagine my answer is probably going to be maybe and not much.
Yeah, let's find out. So I'm going to pull some of the cards out of the article that I talked about, and I'm going to find out if Nate and Patrick would play these cards and how they would play them. So our first card is an instant for 1 white. It's Scout's Warning. The next creature card you play this turn can be played as though it had flash. Draw a card. Would you guys play this card? What would you play it in?
So, you can flash in a creature. It pays for itself by drawing a card. Something like Sun Titan. You could flash in a Sun Titan during someone else's combat and then bring something else out from your graveyard. That seems pretty cool. But I don't know if... I think the opportunity cost of playing a better card, I probably wouldn't play this one.
Huh?
It's kind of the same problem I have with Quicken or Savage Summoning. I mean, they're cool cards and they can kind of create interesting situations, but I'm not 100% sure how effective they are.
Well, I mean, it thins your deck out since it draws that card, Nate. So that's 1 point in its favor. So I play this card in my mono white deck, and my best play to date has been flashing out an Elesh Norn at the end of my last opponent's turn.
Oh, yeah.
Flashing an Elesh Norn was pretty backbreaking for my opponents, and I think I went on to win that game.
Yeah, instant speed board wipes are pretty effective.
Definitely. There's a ton of enter the battlefield effects that you could spam with that outside of mono white. Even just flashing in something like a Merciless Executioner could be pretty nasty.
Yeah. If I had a deck that was themed around enter the battlefield effects, maybe Rune. Although,
Yep.
I guess it'd be redundant there. Maybe.
Could be.
Although you could do it on other people's turns.
So the nice thing about the Scout's Warning is it's a surprise, whereas anything else that Rune is going to flash has already been on the battlefield, so everybody else can see it coming.
Well, you can also do it with your commander.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say it has to be from your hand. So that's kind of a bonus. So at the very least, it's a 1-mana tax on your commander to cast that instant speed.
Oh.
With draw card stapled onto it. Yeah.
Yeah, Rune or Brago with enter the battlefield effects.
Mm-hmm. It's also a decent combat trick that way, too. Here's an additional body, and all of this extra power and toughness.
Ta-da!
Definitely. Yep. I like it. Next card on our list. Chronomantic Escape.
Oh, I like this one.
This is a sorcery for 4 white, and it says, until your next turn, creatures can't attack you. Remove Chronomantic Escape from the game with 3 time counters on it, and then it has suspend 3 for 2 and a white. So this card basically says you can't be attacked every 3 turns.
Mm-hmm. It happens again.
Yep, again and again. It's sort of halfway between a pillow and a fog effect.
It's like Apocryphite.
Yeah, like Apocryphite, or there's a blue version of this that returns a permanent to its owner's hand. Reality Strobe.
Reality Strobe. Yeah.
Yeah, so would you guys play this? What would you play it in?
I do play this card. I play it in Extreme Pillow Fort decks. I might play something like this. I do play Reality Strobe in Vial Smasher if I've got a commander with extra colors, because at the beginning of your turn, every 3 turns, you get to cast a spell for 6 mana for free, and then Vial Smasher domes someone for 6.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one of these in each color?
There is one of these in each color. There's Arc Blade, which is in red, and it does 2 damage to something. Festering March is the black one. And I forget what the green one is.
Festering March?
Yeah.
That seems okay. Cool. This is a fun cycle. I like this cycle of cards.
The green one is Cyclical Evolution. For 3 green, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Exile this with 3 time counters on it. And suspend 3.
So it's a giant growth.
Yeah. So I like the blue one and I like the white one. And sometimes I like the black one.
Yep, those are fun cards to play with. I really like this Chronomantic Escape. I've got this in my Zedru build, which is focused around pillow forting up and then making all creatures attack each turn. So they have to attack someone else.
Yeah, I played this Chronomantic Escape in one of our last games.
To pretty good effect at that.
What turn did you start the escape, would you say?
I actually suspended it because I didn't have enough mana to do everything I wanted. But I lasted 3 turns, enough for it to go off. And it protected me from a 202 Throwmock.
Sure. Yeah. Is it worthwhile to start it in the middle of the game, do you think?
It was worthwhile for me.
All right. Fair enough, then.
So after reading the rules on this, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. There's something we could do here. And I realized if you have a way to untap on other people's turns, and you have a Magosi, the Water Veil, you'll be able to skip your next turn. So you're able to just infinitely not have anybody attack you because you won't have your next turn.
Wait a minute. Until your next turn.
Anything that will, end the game at instant speed.
So you never have another turn, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a perfect propaganda.
Okay. So as long as you can kill someone with instants, then...
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to... This is a challenge, but...
Oh, yeah.
This seems possible. I'm going to make a small note here in my personal notebook called Google Docs, where I keep track of certain combos I may want to look into.
Well done, Patrick.
Next on our list here, we've got Cryptic Annelid. For 3 and a blue, it's a 1/4 Worm Beast. That's WORM, not Worm Coil. Or,
not worm. Warm, not worm.
Yeah, exactly. Not WURM. So it's a 1/4 Worm Beast. When Cryptic Annelid enters the battlefield, scry 1, then scry 2, then scry 3. Would you guys play this?
I'm split on it, honestly. Now that I think about it, it could kind of be like a worse dig through time, because you are digging 6 cards at the deepest.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about commanders that especially care about what their top card is, like Yidris or Momir Vig.
Oh, yeah.
Oracle of Madiah would be really nice here.
Definitely. Or Rush Me.
Yeah, sure. It does have similar problems to Scroll Rack, though, in that if you keep the first card you scry, you're going to keep looking at it in your next scries.
That's true,
But if you don't like what you find first, then you put it to the bottom and you look at 6 cards.
Yeah. Unlike Scroll Rack and Sensei's Dividing Top, you can actually get rid of those top cards if you want to.
Get out.
Thank you, Scry.
I like it a lot, actually. It lets you dig really deep. If the card you're looking for is not in the first one, or the next 2 after the first one, and you're at the third one, you've just dug 6 cards into your deck, which is really nice. I mean, the only thing that would put this over the top is if it said draw a card on it. I mean, I just feel like blue has so many ways to already shape their draws that, I mean, maybe a 1/4 body is really what you're looking for. Maybe in a Phoenix deck.
Not for 4 mana, though.
No.
What else we got here? We got... this guy. Yixlid Jailer. It's a 2/1 zombie wizard for 1 black. Cards in graveyards lose all abilities.
Aww.
Would you guys play it?
I would prefer to exile the graveyards.
In true Plurgian fashion.
Yeah. It is a zombie and it's a wizard, so maybe there's some tribal things going on there. It's going to shut off on Earth. It's going to shut off flashback. So if there's a Cedrus or a Dralnu in your meta, this can hurt them. The problem with it being zombies, though, is most zombie decks are going to want to use their own graveyard abilities.
Yeah, so maybe you don't play in zombie tribal, but
Yeah.
maybe some kind of weird Grixis wizard tribal.
Maybe.
With Nekuzar at the helm,
Yeah.
since he's a zombie wizard as well.
Hey, there you go.
Could be, yeah.
Is your Nekuzar using your own graveyard for stuff?
Rarely.
Okay.
Yeah, and mine doesn't either. Something to think about. It could go in some sort of a black-white hate bears deck, though that sounds like it would probably want to use the graveyard also. So, I don't know. It seems like it's something you could use somewhere.
Sure.
Just needed one more toughness and it would be an actual hate bear.
I would use it as a meta hate card against someone specific if they were going overboard with flashback or unearth.
Yeah, I mean, it runs into the classic problem of just being a mostly dead card if you make the wrong meta called.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Stronghold Rats is a 2/1 rat for 2 and a black. It's got shadow, so it can't be blocked by creatures that don't have shadow. And then whenever Stronghold Rats deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you think? Would you play it?
I use it in Nath of the Guilt Leaf because it's practically unblockable and I get 3 elves.
I've used it in my Rat Tribal deck, since rats are essentially discard tribal as well. Yeah.
And I play this in my Damia Sage of Stone deck, which runs a lot of cards like Bottomless Pit and Cunning Lethomancer, so this is just one more everybody discards kind of effect. It's pretty good. I'm actually surprised that it's only run in 321 decks.
It does seem low, but on the other hand, you are paying 3 mana for a 2/1.
An unblockable 2/1, though.
Yeah, unblockable 2/1. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say it probably goes in every mono black discard related deck. Like if somebody's building around the flip Liliana, the heretical healer, because her flip side does discard stuff, and you're probably going to take advantage of that with Waste Nod and such.
You know what this might go in, actually, is Neheb the Worthy.
Mm.
The new Minotaur from Amonkhet.
Yeah. He's the one who wants to get you down to 1 or less cards in hand so that he gets an additional Minotaur buff.
Oh yeah, he deals combat damage to a player and each player discards a card, so that's more of that. So you're probably taking advantage of that.
Right. The rats are not a Minotaur, but they still help you get Neheb where he wants to go.
Yep. Before my Rats deck went Golgari colors, Stronghold Rats was a very solid rat in my Rat Tribal deck. Yeah, I was very sad to cut it out of my Rats deck, but it wasn't fitting the theme anymore, so I had to go.
It's a rat, though.
Yeah, I know, but Rat Tribal also is a discard tribe. So, and when I stopped being Rat Tribal and started being more Mirren-based, I stopped being so discard heavy. So, just took them out to make room for green.
Oh,
I know. Maybe one day.
Alright, next up on this list here, we've got Llanowar Mentor. It's a 1/1 elf spell shaper for green. If you've been following my article series, you know how much I love spell shapers. So this one, pay green and tap it, discard a card, put a 1/1 green elf druid creature token named Llanowar Elves into play with tap, add green to your mana pool. What do you think? Would you guys play this?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would. It turns late game, it turns all your, bad draws into 1/1 elf druids, and if you're in an elf ball deck, that can't be bad. Early game, it's still a 1/1 elf for 1, and it can turn any of your unplayables into ramp.
or instant speed blockers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are all great things. And with doubling season or anointed possession or parallel lives, you're doubling up on that ramp, which seems pretty sweet.
Definitely, yeah.
So the Spell Shaper tribe, their shtick is that you pay some mana and you tap them and discard a card and then something happens. I guess Jaya Ballard is the most famous spell shaper.
Yeah, usually they copy an instant or sorcery, but since this is Future Sight, they played around with that, and instead you cast a Llanowar Elf.
Yeah.
Plus, you can always just collect all your Llanowar elves and use them as tokens now.
Mhm. Yeah, I might use this Llanowar Mentor in a Marin deck, because I'll be getting my cards back if I discard a creature. I might use it in Freyalise, because she's going to have a theme around the Llanowar elves, probably.
Yep. You know, Gitrog monster probably likes this. You discard a land, make an elf.
Yeah, I would think some Golgari that can get your stuff back.
So, yeah, those are some thoughts for that card. Last up, we've got Centaur Omen Reader. It's a 3/3 snow creature Centaur Shaman. I think it's the only snow creature in all of Future Sight. Costs 3 and a green. As long as Centaur Omen Reader is tapped, creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. What do you think? Would you guys play this card?
Maybe Animar Soul of Elements, because he's going to have the creature cost reduction in there too. Maybe something in green with vehicles, so I can tap this guy for free.
Yeah, Looter Scooter is great with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Cultivator's Caravan.
Oh yeah, that too.
Ooh, that's like a 3 mana discount for a spell.
Mm-hmm.
You tap him for essentially 2.
Oh,
and then
right.
You tap the Caravan for 1.
Right. And the Caravan taps for colored mana, so.
And you can play a whole bunch of mirrors for free.
So do you use this, Dean?
Oh, yeah. So I run this card in my Rurik Thar deck, because I'm casting lots of big dragons and stuff like that. So it's always handy to be able to pay 2 less for those cards. And my tappers, I think I mentioned this when we talked about Leechbonder the last time we did articles, but my tappers are the elf where you can tap 4 creatures and destroy an artifact.
Oh.
You guys know that one? For 3 and a green?
Null-Made Shepherd.
Which will let you tap, like I said, tap 4 creatures to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And Holdout Settlement from Oath of the Gatewatch, which is a land that will tap for a colored mana if you tap a creature.
Oh, and there's a Survivor's Encampment from Hour of Devastation.
And then also, he's a 3/3, so he's got a decent attacking body.
Yeah, he does everything that green wants to do anyway. He ramps you and he attacks, so he's not terrible.
Not at all. So yeah, those are some of the cards from my article. Go check it out to get the rest of them.
Cool. Okay, I wrote some articles. This month, I wrote about Timna the Weaver, and then I wrote about Craum Ludovic's Opus. Is it Crom or Craum? What do you think?
Crom?
I say Crom.
Okay.
Cram.
Cram for this
zombie test.
EDH test that you're going to fail. Yeah.
Crom? Okay. First off, Timna the Weaver. Sometimes you get a new commander and it has rules text with a unique phrase. So searching for other commanders with similar mechanics isn't going to give you enough results to build something with. So with Timna, the phrase number of opponents, there's exactly 1 result, and that's Timna the Weaver. So when that happens, you have to think through what the implications of words mean and reword it. So I reworded it to each opponent instead of number of opponents. And if you search for combat damage and each opponent, you get 9 results. That's still not that much. So if you're doing combat damage, that means that you had to attack. So reword combat damage to attack. And each opponent, you get 27 results, and that's more like what we're looking for. Among those results, there are keywords like Myriad. Myriad's pretty good for Timna, because if you have 1 creature, you can attack everyone with it for free. Kind of for free. Yeah, Blade of Selves, there's a Banshee of the Dread Choir, there's a Herald. There's 1 in each color, so whoever you partner Timna with, you'll get some extra options there. There's another keyword called Melee, which isn't that great. It's about the level of prowess, in that you're going to give one of your creatures a small combat bonus until the end of the turn, and that's generally how it works.
Well, it's nice because it does give it to itself for attacking by itself, so it is a +1/+1 no matter what.
Sure. But it's about the same as prowess, I think.
Yeah.
So, another thing with Tymna, you need to do combat damage to each player.
Yep.
So, you want to get through to hit them. And within Tymna's colors, there's things like Fear and Intimidate, which will hopefully reduce the number of blockers that are able to block you. I think Fear is better than Intimidate, especially in a 4-color deck. Because if you have a 4-color commander, Intimidate is kind of useless on them.
Yeah.
Another thing about Tymna is you're paying life to get those cards, like Phyrexian Arena.
Mm-hmm.
So why not add some Extort or something like that? So you're draining a point of life from each player that you can use to pay for the card draw with Tymna.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, so when I wrote this article, a previous article I had already had Tymna in a Sid Arcando Infect deck. But this time, I wanted to do an experiment. So I took Tymna, I added Sid Arcando as the secondary, and I built a whole new deck based around Tymna. And then I went back and I compared the two decks using DeckStats comparison tool.
Yeah? What'd you discover?
I found out that if you have two different decks with the same two partners, they can be really different.
It's almost like there's an art to deck building or something.
Yeah. Then I did another comparison between the new Sidar Tymna Extort deck and the Ishai and Ikra Shadiki deck that has a lot of life gain tricks. And it had more in common between each other than the two Sidar and Tymna decks. They had more cards in common that were all based around life draining. So sometimes the strategy can trump the actual commanders in your deck building.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
The second article I wrote for June is about Crom, Ludovic's opus, the zombie flying horror in blue and red. And for that article, I made 2 decks. So I already wrote an article about Ludovic before, and when I wrote that article, I had a passing thought that maybe we could do a theme deck with Ludovic and Crom as the two partners. And I shoved that idea aside and said I'll get back to it later. So now it's later. And so for one deck, I made a flavor deck with Crom and Ludovic as the commanders. So it became a Ludovic and Crom and Geralf deck.
Getting the band back together.
Yeah. And since this is a theme deck, one trick you can do, if you're not really trying to win, you're just trying to make a pretty theme deck. One thing you can do is you can search the cards for the flavor text. Look in the flavor text and see if your characters are being mentioned there. And doing that, I found a bunch of cards that go in the deck. And searching for Crom, you get one result, but searching for Ludovic, you get a bunch. And then if you search for Geralf, you get a bunch more.
Yeah.
Do you actually have a win con built into your Crom deck?
The flavored deck, not so much. It's actually an Izzet Spellslinger deck with Brain in a Jar for more flavor.
Ooh. You could say it's pickled in flavor?
Yep, you could say that. So the zombies are eating pickled brains. But not that brain, because I need it to cast my spells.
I've always wondered if it would be better to be a zombie who was pickled or non-pickled, because you kind of get the leathery skin. And I always wonder if, you'd be worried about being dry or something like that as a zombie and have the crackly skin or something.
Yeah, you need some kind of moisturizer. Although if the game is not going well for you, you are going to be more salty.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. I see what you did there. So it's a Spellslinger deck?
It is. Is it spells? It's mostly instants and sorceries.
Interesting. Is it spells and zombies?
Yep.
Huh. All right.
Yeah. Some particularly flavorful guys. There are some flying zombie horrors. There are 3 of them. They all have the theme where you can pay some mana and bring them back to the battlefield from your graveyard, tapped, if you discard 1 or more cards. So, Crom's got some friends up there. Yeah, so there's Stitchwing Scab, Advanced Stitchwing, and Geralf's Masterpiece. And all of those are creepy-looking zombies with wings and weird stuff on their hands, maybe a weapon bolted on there. And they all do kind of the same thing at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Commander's Brew, a while back, they had episode on Esper zombies with all these new white zombies in Amonkhet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did it with Ravos Soul Tender and Silas Wren. I don't know why they use Silas Wren, because he got Crown. He's a zombie. And he adds blue, so you can have Esper and red too. So I made 4-color zombie tribal. I guess you'd call it Grixis White, maybe.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm still using Ravos Soul Tender because he's kind of got some zombie-like things going on. He's bringing creatures back from your graveyard.
And he's a lord, so, it works out.
Yeah, and he's flying. So I got 2 flying commanders flitting around up there. In Amonkhet, there are some nice zombie-related cards. The white ones are Binding Mummy and Wayward Servant. And there's a black one called Plague Belcher. And all 3 of those have the words, whenever another zombie. And that's enough.
And then you just jam in every single zombie card you can think of.
Yeah, zombie tokens. Anytime a zombie comes on the field, if you got one of those guys out there, it does something cool for you. Zombie decks tend to be token decks, so you got Anointed Procession, which has got zombies in the art. There's a new zombie lord called Lord of the Accursed. And Amonkhet brings anything you want with Embalm. Is technically kind of a zombie.
A white zombie.
Mm-hmm. You can play it, and then when it dies, you can play it again. Unless you got your Yixis Jailer out, and then nobody can do anything. Yeah, so 4-color zombies. That's how I did it. And that's my articles.
So, I guess that leaves me, my article. It's taxes. I originally wrote it right at the end of tax season. I thought it would be apropos.
Oh, yeah. Taxes deck is horrible fun.
Yeah, so much fun.
It's not even fun for you to play.
Not me. It's not a deck for me, that's for sure.
It's not fun for your opponents, it's not fun for you, it's not fun for the cards. The cards aren't even having a good time.
No, they're getting too busy getting tapped and untapped and tapped and then retapped.
Yeah, look at this Howling Mine. He's howling in agony.
Yeah. Don't claim that you like just turning your cards sideways, because then somebody's going to pull a tax deck out of you, and you're going to turn your cards sideways, but that's not going to be fun for you.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to go ahead and exert everything for you, so they don't untap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Specifically, what actually made me do it is the interaction of the mechanic from Aether Revolt Improvise and the way that artifacts used to work when Magic the Gathering was conceptualized. And that any artifact that was tapped didn't work. You didn't get the effect anymore until you're on tap step, and then you would get the effect again. When they went through and errataed everything, they made no functional changes to those cards. So that's why things like Howling Mine, which have been around forever, have the words at the beginning of each player's draw step. If Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. That's why there's that weird clause in there about being untapped. So you can actually turn that effect off by being tapped, and so on and so forth. And by putting Inspiring Sanctuary in just like a normal taxes deck, you're able to suddenly gain a lot more advantage than everybody else at the board. Turns out this deck was actually really hard to build.
So Inspiring Statuary lets you cast
any non-artifact spells as though
by tapping your artifacts.
Right.
Okay.
So the whole goal of the deck was to essentially cast X spells or just anything at the end of the end step, and then when you go through your untap phase, you're able to untap only the things that you want to, or things like that. So the way that it kind of worked out makes it a little complicated, and you want more than one way to tap or untap things, just because some things you want, like Howling Mine, you want that to be tapped on everybody else's turns, but untapped on your turns. But for something like Static Orb, as long as Static Orb is untapped, players can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap steps.
Oh, you've got Static Orb here? I played against Static Orb a time or two.
Yeah.
It's not a fun time. Along with Winter Orb, the 2 orbs.
The best orbs.
Oh, the worst orbs. Get out of here, orbs.
I wonder how many orbs there are in Magic.
There's orbs of warding.
I was just going to say.
That's not offensive.
No, that one's definitely Chaos Orb.
I don't think you're allowed to play that.
No, that's a
Dexterity card.
manipulation one.
Yeah, the trick with Chaos Orb is you tear it up into little pieces and then you just sprinkle them.
That's
Mhm.
Chaos Confetti.
Let's see. Oh, Mesmeric Orb is another option.
No, it's not.
Whenever a
Oh,
permanent
yeah.
becomes untapped, that permanent
That's-
controller
nope.
puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
That's not an option.
I actually don't put that in mill decks because I don't want
It's kind of slow.
Oh, it
No,
works.
it's fast. It's
It
really
works.
good.
A little too fast.
Yeah, I mean, in an Una deck, you want people to get rid of their cards, but if I'm tapping 10 mana to power up Una's ability, then
Yeah. There's also Mindlock Orb. Players can't search libraries.
Mm,
that one's okay. I like that.
yeah. That fits right into the Plorgian strategy.
We got Orb of Dreams. Permanents come into play tapped.
Okay.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, the aforementioned Orbs of Warding. You have hexproof, and if a creature would deal damage to you, prevent 1 damage. Okay.
That's actually better than it sounds.
Yeah. But it's for 5 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, something makes an orb token. An orb creature. With a star power and toughness. And it flies.
Neat. Witchbane Orb. Another hexproof giver. And, Zuran Orb. Sacrifice a land, you gain 2 life.
I think Gitrog might use that. Yeah.
Yeah, Gitrog. For 0 mana, that is insane.
So, you know what you have to do now, Patrick?
What?
Orb Tribe.
Orb Tribal.
Oh no. Well, can I include eyes in that?
Yes, you can. All 2 of the eyes that exist.
Yes. And so, Static Orb. And so you want that to be tapped during your turn, but untapped during everybody else's turn. So it's the exact opposite. You need to have kind of like the right amount of tappers and untappers in the entirety of your deck in order to actually make it so that you don't get stuck behind your own tax effects. Let's see, I had Mind Over Matter. There's actually a couple of really strange artifact creatures that let you tap them just to give like +2/+0 or something like that I put in there.
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to put Paradox Engine in here, but that just forcibly untaps everything. So it wasn't going to be great here.
Offhand, I'm thinking Clock of Omens.
Yep, Clock of Omens was in there. That one is definitely really, really good in this deck because then it lets you sculpt.
Surgically untap.
Yeah, exactly. If you go to my article, you'll see kind of a more lengthy list of effects that can be turned on or off with this, but it turns out there's not that many anymore because it's just a very confusing thing to actually have to write down, and it's not very fun to be like, no, this effect no longer works, but this effect works now, ha 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 ha. It's not a super fun thing to do. My favorite was, I think I was playing against you, Dean, when I had Static Orb and Winter Orb out. Yeah, so I was untapping all my lands, but everybody else was untapping 1 land and 1 other permanent.
Yeah, I think everyone conceded at that point.
Yeah, so this whole entire deck building experience really taught me a few things. And the first thing was, if you are bad at politics, don't play a taxes deck. That was the first thing I discovered, is that, 1, I'm not nearly as good at politics as I like to imagine I am. And 2, people don't like having their spells cost more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you play Texas, everybody hates you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like if you're bad at politics, maybe you should play taxes, because everybody's going to hate you anyway. You'd have to be a real genius at politics to make somebody not hate you out of the game.
Well, maybe you're tapping artifacts for, your favorite people.
Sure. Yeah, I'll turn this Trinisphere off for you, Winter Orb off for you.
Show some favoritism.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
But you didn't give me brownies. I'm gonna untap those.
No one will believe you, though. That's a really odd concept. Some sort of a tax hug effect deck. Ugh. No, it's just, that's gross. We're not...
The rich get richer.
Yeah.
Trickle-down economics.
I could see that being some sort of a really weird Kneas and Tiro deck.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
At that point, you may as well just go full-on stacks. Yeah. The second thing I learned is that tax deck is like a quintessential control deck. You need to actually understand what your meta is doing and understand what is really important to be taxing. Because if you have a whole bunch of effects that are taxing creatures and everybody at the table is doing Spell Slinger, you have a very, very ineffective deck. And so there are options to switch in between them, but at the end of the day, you won't have a really functional deck if you are just taxing everything blindly.
Oh, but I spent so much money on this Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale.
I know. Maybe you can evolve your meta.
Uh-oh.
And finally, it turns out math is hard.
Yeah, math, the age-old enemy.
When you have several tax effects all happening at the same time, and you might have some discounts of your own, it gets difficult to figure out what an X spell costs.
So you might want to have your calculator app open there at the table with you?
Yeah, I think it might work out better if you just have a piece of paper and just keep a running tally of what the total cost is. That would probably be the best bet. Otherwise, you're sitting there trying to count on your fingers.
Huh? Or maybe you just don't play the deck.
That's where I ultimately ended up with. It's just not a deck for me, though it was a fun thought experiment.
Your article is Combo Corner, right? What was your win con in this deck? What was your combo?
Besides just trying to outvalue, the win condition was Lab Maniac, Mind Over Matter, and Arcanist, the Omnipotent.
Gross.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty close one, and Mind Over Matter slots into the deck already for tapping and untapping, and so that works really great as a redundant piece. And I needed some card draw, so Arcanist fits in there by himself, and Labman was there because I needed a win condition.
Yeah, fair enough. Those are win conditions, and those are things.
This is not the kind of fussing about that I personally would love to do in Magic, but I mean, maybe if you're an accountant, this could be right up your alley. Also, very annoying playstyle.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really like to make yourself a target, this is also another way to do it. So, hey.
Maybe we should talk about our most recent games?
Our last game.
So, we'll get to the That Guy game in a second. But our first game, I was playing Isova Dragonclaw, which was steal things temporarily and sacrifice them, or steal them permanently.
I was playing my more tuned Gonti deck. It's probably the best version of it so far. Yep, I'm slowly trying to tune it to the point where I'm actually comfortable in a control setting with him.
Yeah, that's a good Gonti deck.
That's a pretty good deck. I was playing one of my janky builds based on Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. And I had Ravos and Thrasios as the commanders, so nobody knows what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's based around Urborg and...
Oh, it's Urborg and anything that goes with Urborg, really. It's mainly just Urborg and everything that can go with swamps.
Oh, is it not Urborg and Cormaspell?
It's got Cormaspell in this one. It's got Karma. It's got Spreading Algae. I got a couple uses out of that.
Yeah, that Cormaspell came down very early in the game and made things very interesting.
Pretty difficult.
Yeah, it backfired a couple times on me.
Yeah, Dean, why don't you show one of the ways it backfired on him?
Sure. So my one and only big play of the game was to cast Mob Rule, which steals all creatures either with power 3 or less or 4 or bigger. And since Cormaspell was making all lands 1/1 creatures, I stole all the tiny creatures.
You took my land.
Yes, I did, and Patrick's.
Mm-hmm.
They got haste and they untapped, and I was able to tap them for stuff. Unfortunately, the size of my hand was seriously limiting, and I didn't really get to do anything that changed the game. And then I had to give them back. And that was not so good.
Should have attacked with the lands that you took.
Yeah. I should have. There was a reason that, what was it? It wouldn't even have been great. I think Patrick had enough blockers that he would have just killed Nate's lands or something. I forget.
No, I didn't have that many blockers. I think you were tired. I think that's the reason why you didn't attack.
I was tired. It was 2 o'clock in the morning for me.
Yeah, you were, like, right at the end, you were like, oh, I should have attacked with all of this extra mana, but I'm going to tap them all down instead.
Yeah. And I think you ended up killing us with Gary.
Yeah, the second way I punished Nate for his Cormaspell play is after Dean had... I don't remember who exactly killed the Cormaspell, but the Cormaspell went away and died. I had exiled Nate's graveyard with Hedonist Trove and Dean's with the Juko Bog. And then I proceeded to play Cormaspell from Nate, and then his own Zealous Persecution that he had cast against us to wipe our lands. So Dean was unfortunate in that he had to be land wiped twice.
Yeah, I got to sit that game out and just kind of press the pass button.
Yeah. And Nate got to taste his own medicine.
That's what Gonti does.
Mm-hmm.
How did it taste, Nate?
Tasted like... didn't taste as good as the next game.
Not like pickled brains?
But yeah, I ended up finishing that game by getting Minion Reflector out, playing Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and then copying him. And as another point, when you have no creatures out, and somebody has a Shieldred, and Cormaspell is out, so you do have creatures because they're your lands. You're going to have to sacrifice your creature lands.
Yeah, if you don't have any other creatures out, then your lands are up on the chopping block there.
And if 2 of your opponents have out a Shieldred each, you might have to sacrifice 2 of your creature lands.
Yep, I did that.
How did that feel?
Felt like I had less land.
Yeah, unfortunately Shieldred was my only creature, so I had to sacrifice it to Patrick's Shieldred at my next upkeep.
Yeah, it turns out when you have Shieldred and Palace Siege, it's quite powerful.
You think? That was pretty good.
I was happy.
Yep.
Yeah, you were.
When Gonti dies, he doesn't have to go to the command zone. He can go to the graveyard and Shieldred can put him back on the battlefield and you Gonti again.
It's almost like I had a plan.
Hey.
So after that, we played another game, and I played my somewhat more tuned Athreos and Apostles deck, and I had a vendetta against Patrick.
Well, I don't understand why. Just because I board wiped your lands the second time. It wasn't even my cards. They were Nate's cards.
Oh, so much salt. So much salt.
But you're the one who pressed the button.
The second time.
Yeah, it's like you found, it's like you broke into Nate's house, stole his guns and bullets, and then you shot me with them.
After he shot you. I was the guy who took the gun from Nate who just shot you, and then shot you a second time.
Is that supposed to make me feel better?
Well...
So anyway, yeah, so I played my Athreos Apostles deck, and Patrick played a different deck too.
Yeah. I've been looking for an aggro deck that I actually enjoy playing. Or rather, any deck that causes me to do creature combat outside of blocking. And so I was running Thromach tokens.
And how big was Thromach when you brought him out on
got
turn?
a big Thromach there.
4?
Yeah, I got 100 Throwmock. He was a good time. And I killed Dean with a 200 Throwmock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your second harvest gave you a bunch of tokens.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was bad. Again, it was 2:30, so I was watching the board. Okay, he's got a 100 Throwmock. That's fine. Okay, he's got a Xenagos. That's fine. He doesn't have any trample. And I neglected to pay attention to the fact that he had Kessig Wolfrun. And then
Yeah.
I was very sad. Turns out that a 1/1 Apostle is not able to very effectively block a 200 trampling Throwmock the Insatiable.
It turns out Shadowborn Apostles are still just 1/1s.
Now, if I had out Martyr's Bond, we might have had a different conversation.
Well, then I would have attacked Nate instead.
Hey.
That's true, that's
but
true.
at the end of the day, I can only be attacked by Shadowborn Apostles so many times before, you know what, it's just time for them to go.
You had it coming. You killed me, and then I was able to go to sleep, so that was nice. But I think you guys kept on playing.
Yeah, it took another 30, 40 minutes before we were able to finish that game out.
Which is pretty impressive. This is the game where you use the Chronomantic Escape.
I did, and it helped. It helped a lot.
Yeah.
Kept Throwmock at bay.
Well, that wasn't what was keeping it at bay. Story
Circle.
Yeah, Story Circle was keeping it at bay. The the Chromantic Escape was actually keeping my red creatures from killing him a turn earlier or two.
Ah.
So it came down right at the right time where I was going to swing in with a really big group, and then he was able to pillow fort further.
So did you end up winning?
No.
Yeah, this is my extreme pillow fort, Kaineos and Tiro, but it's also based around Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. So I played a Chronomantic Escape, I played Story Circle, I played Intervention Pact at one point, so I gained 200 life for a turn, and then the next turn I lost 200 life from the Throwmock. I played the Circle of Protection White, Rune of Protection White, and I won with Karma.
Yeah.
And that's why the Circles of Protection are in there, so I can protect myself from my own karma.
Yeah, I know about Karma because there's a version of Darien King of Keldor that also runs Urborg and Karma. When Darien takes the damage from Karma, he puts out a 1/1 soldier token. And then people also run the Soul Sisters package, so whenever a creature comes into play, they gain life, and it kind of mitigates the Karma damage, and then they get a whole bunch of soldiers.
Ta-da!
I think there's also another card similar to Karma, but it's not quite as good. But it's got an upkeep cost, and it doesn't just deal damage for having them, it deals damage for when they're tapped. So, not quite as good.
Royal Decree.
That's the one.
2 white enchantment, cumulative upkeep white. Whenever a swamp, mountain, black permanent, or red permanent becomes tapped, Royal Decree deals 1 damage to that permanent's controller.
I think maybe in your deck you would probably rather just run Mana Barbs.
Yeah, I like Mana Barbs.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, pets.
Pets update. Murder.
What's your pet doing?
Ah, yes. Pets update. Hattie, our dog, has become sort of the neighbor porch mascot dog. So we live in a house that's divided into apartments, and our neighbors hang out on the porch. And we've been hanging out on the porch, and Hattie comes and joins us, and she's sort of become our little porch mascot.
All right.
So,
She an effective guard dog?
no. Not even a little bit.
A very friendly guard dog?
She's much too friendly, yeah. She's, I mean, she might be effective in a different sort of way. She's very annoying. She'll get right up in your face and lick your nose off.
And demand the best belly rubs that you can provide.
She's not even into belly rubs. She just wants to lick your face and nose and mouth and ears and ears and ears and mouth. Yeah, it's gross.
One of my cats does that.
Oh, perfect.
As my alarm clock.
Wake up.
Jumps up on the bed and starts licking my face to wake me up.
Wake up. Wake
At
up.
the same time
Feed me.
every morning?
Oh, no, it varies. It's like sometimes it's 2 a.m., sometimes it's 4 a.m., and then we close the bedroom door after putting her outside.
So you're running on tummy time whenever she's hungry.
Yep. But it is cute. It's gross, but it's cute.
I mean, not much has been going on in my dog's life. He's just exhausted from daycare. Just he can't handle daycare every day. Like at the end of the day, it's just sleep, and then he barely makes it to the car to go to daycare on the next day.
Oh. He doesn't like school?
Oh no, he loves it too much. Like he gets there and then it's nothing but like playtime for like 6 hours straight, and then he's not a high energy dog, so he just gets home and he's just like, let's go to bed. I'm ready for bed. I didn't take a nap today. So yeah, that's kind of what's up with him. He's just an exhausted dog. He's going back there tomorrow, so I hope he's caught up on sleep. He's been sleeping literally, I think, the last 8 hours, and before that was like a 1 hour wake, and then 8 hours of sleep before that. So, yeah.
All right. Visit us at patreon.com/commandertime.
You can find me on Twitter at Grubfellow.
At Detective Yarmits.
At Mr. Plorg.
Mana, mana,
The Groove Fix.
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 mana, mana.
The Groove Fix. Fix. I've got a Simic design to end green and blue at the casting time. I see a legendary creature around with a 2-3 on the body line. My command zone doesn't mind it when another one takes a stand. Oh. Partner with some other commander if you should need a helping hand. Oh, why don't you choose it? Cadelli proves it. Try not to lose it. The Crew Fix is a lonely god whose profits in the dark. The Crew Fix needs another human wizard with extra arms, watching through the misty fingers, chosen overall. Every little card the player draws gives you mana when you tap my girl.